Hello, children. Welcome to our next class in geography. Our today's lesson is lesson number 6, Human Resources. We all know that a country's greatest wealth is the people. People are a nation's or country's greatest resource because it is the people who transform resources and make them usable. Nature's gift, nature's valuable resources becomes important only when people find it useful. Let's take the example of honey or milk, vegetables or fruits. Whatever we see around ourselves, even the water and the air, everything has a use, and this particular use is brought to us or changed into a resource by the application of knowledge and skill. When knowledge and skill is applied, then these things which are available in nature in plenty becomes a resource. We have learned about the tidal energy, the wind energy, the hydro energy. These are all the gifts of nature, and man has harnessed the powers of these nature's gift to produce energy from these natural gifts. Remember, things around us become useful or important only when they satisfy our needs. Human beings apply their skill and knowledge to transform those things into usable products, and this is why human resource is considered to be the most valuable resource which is available on our planet. Although human resource is the greatest resource, but not all human beings equally help in the development of a country. Only those human beings who are healthy, educated, and motivated help in the development of resources, and this ultimately leads to the development of a country. We human differ amongst ourselves as well. We differ in educational levels, age, and gender. The number of human beings and their characteristics also keeps on changing with the change in time and situation. Our next topic is distribution of population. The pattern in which people are spread across the earth's surface is known as population distribution. As discussed and taught earlier, human resources, like other resources, are not spread equally everywhere. That is, in certain places you will find that the place is more populated and certain places are less populated. More than 90% of the world's population lives in about 30% of the land. The reason behind this uneven distribution of population is because people cannot adapt to the changes of the harsh climate. Only those who are accustomed to living in harsh climates can survive in those situations. The world's most crowded areas are the South and Southeast Asia, Europe, and Northeastern North America. Very few people like to live in high latitude areas. So, high latitude areas, we mean that they like to live near the Arctic regions or the polar regions. So, higher latitude, it means it will be colder. And very few people like to live in tropical deserts such as the Sahara or the Thar. Even we find less population in high mountains and equatorial forests, as all these areas either are very hot or very cold or experience a lot of rain or are a home of different wild animals, birds and insects. So life in these particular region becomes difficult for certain people, and that's why most of the population is concentrated in plains or plateaus. Under this classification, we come to know that many more people live in the north of the equator than the south of the equator. Almost 3/4 of the world's people live in two continents, which is Asia and Africa. 60% of the world's people stay in just 10 countries. All these 10 countries will have a population which is more than 100 million people. Our next topic is density of population. Density means thickness. Density of population is the number of people living in a particular unit area of the Earth's surface. If you take the example of a particular colony, so how many people live in that particular area will show the thickness of the population in that particular colony. It is normally expressed as per square kilometer. If we take the average density of population in the whole world, we'll find that 51 persons live in per square kilometer. South Central Asia has the highest density of population, followed by East and Southeast Asia. Our next topic is factors affecting distribution of population. This heading can be further classified under two heads. One, the geographical factors, and the other, social, cultural, and economic factors. Geographical factors. Number one, topography. People always prefer to live on plains rather than on mountains and deserts. It is because these areas are suitable for farming, manufacturing, transportation, and other service activities. The Ganga Plains are the most densely populated area of the world, while mountains like Andes, Alps, and Himalayas are very thinly populated or have very less population. Number two, climate. People usually avoid extreme climates that are very hot or very cold, like Sahara Desert or the polar regions of Russia, Canada, and Antarctica. That is, people do not prefer to live either on the hot desert like the Sahara or the Thar Desert or the Gobi or the Atacama Desert, and also people do not like to live in the cold deserts like the Antarctica, the polar regions, Ladakh. Number three, soil. Fertile soil helps in the cultivation of food crops and beverage crops. Fertile plains such as the Ganga and Brahmaputra in India, Huanghe, Changjiang in China, and Nile in Egypt are very densely or highly populated. Number four, water. People prefer to live in those areas where fresh water is available in plenty. The river valleys of the world are densely populated, while deserts are very less populated. It is because river valleys have a lot of water which can be used for different human activities, whereas in desert the availability of water is limited and hence it is very less populated. Number 5, minerals. Areas where there are huge deposits of mineral are highly populated. The reason is that where there is mineral deposit, there are chances that factories will be established, and where there are factories, it will provide huge employment to a lot many people. Hence, areas with mineral deposits are more populated. Diamond mines of South Africa and discovery of oil in the Middle East led to settling of people in these areas. Our next classification is social, cultural, and economic factors which leads to the change of distribution of population. Social factors. Areas of better housing, education, health facilities are more densely populated. People like to live in places which has good facilities like the hospital nearby, school nearby, colleges nearby, workstations nearby, and which is why you will see that whenever a person tries to sell an apartment, he will list out the positive things about that particular area. One of the best example is Pune. Now, Pune is a place where there is good housing facilities, there are topmost education institutions, and as well as there are good health facilities provided by the city. The cultural factor. Places with religion or cultural importance attract people. Example, Varanasi. For Hindu people, Varanasi is a holy place, and many people would like to settle in a place which has closer link to their cultural or religious value. Similarly, Jerusalem and Vatican City attract people for settlements as people are attracted towards them because of their religious and cultural beliefs. Economic factors. Economic factors refers to the earning capacity of people. Industrial areas provide employment opportunities to a lot many people, which is why large number of people are attracted to places which have got huge industries and factories. Osaka in Japan and Mumbai in India are two densely populated areas because of many industries which gives employment to people. Our next topic is population change. Population change means the change in the number of people during a particular time. We all know that our world's population has not been same throughout these years. It has increased, as you can see in this figure, 6.3. This is actually due to the changes that has happened in the number of births and deaths in a particular year. For an extremely long period of human history, until 1800s, the world's population grew steadily, step by step, but slowly. Large number of babies were born, but they died very soon. This was because of the improper or no proper health facilities. Sufficient food was also not available for all the people. Farmers were not able to produce enough food to meet the requirements of all the people. As a result, the total increase in population was very low. In 1804, the world's population reached 1 billion. 155 years later, in 1959, the world's population reached 3 billion. This is called population explosion. In 1999, 40 years later, the population doubled to 6 billion. The main reason for this too fast growth in population was because of the better food supplies and medicines. Death rates were reduced while the number of births still remained very high. Births are usually measured using the birth rate, that is, the number of live births per thousand people. Similarly, deaths are also measured using the death rate. The calculation is the number of deaths per thousand people. Number of births and number of death are the natural causes of change in population. The difference between the birth rate and the death rate is commonly known as natural growth rate. Population increase in the world is mainly due to increase in the natural growth rate. So we have learned that population in a particular area changes because of the number of births that has happened in that particular area or the number of deaths that has occurred in that particular area. There is another reason why population changes in a particular area, and this is migration. Migration means the movement of people in or out of a particular place. Migration is also classified under different heading. People either move inside a country, that is from one state to another or from one city to another, or they go from one country to another. Migration is classified as immigration and emigration. Emigration, people who leave one's country and go to another country. Immigration is that when other country people come to our country and live in our country. Countries like United States of America and Australia have got increase in population because of the immigration, that is the coming in of the people. Sudan is another country which has experienced loss of population. It is because many people have moved out of that country. The general trend of international migration is from the less developed nation to the more developed nations in search of better employment opportunities. For example, we have seen in our country, particularly in Tamil Nadu, you might have heard about your relatives moving to Qatar, Dubai in search of work. So, people from less developed countries move to higher or most developed countries in order to find better work facilities to earn more and also for their educational purposes. People also move from inside the country, that is from rural areas to urban areas, and some from urban areas they move to rural areas. This movement of people is also in search of employment, education, and health facilities. Normally, rural people move to urban areas in search of employment, education, and health facilities. Patterns of population change. Rates of population growth differ in different parts of the world. Although world's total population is rising very highly, but not all the countries are experiencing the same rise in population. Countries like Kenya have high population growth. It is because they have a high birth rate as well as high death rate. With improving medical facilities, although the death rates have reduced, but birth rates are rising even more high, which has led to a high growth rate, and this is why Kenya is one of the most populated country. In other countries like United Kingdom, the population is growing slowly. It is because of low death rate and low birth rate. So, rise in population is not same everywhere. Our next topic is population composition. Under this topic, we shall know that the economic development of a country is not affected by the density of population. Example, both Bangladesh and Japan are very densely populated countries, but Japan is economically developed country, much more developed than Bangladesh. We all know that people are the nation's greatest wealth, but all people are not the same. They vary much in age, gender, level of education, health, occupation, and income level. It is essential to understand these features of the people. Population composition refers to the structure of population, that is, how many people are earning, how many people are infant, and how many people are dependent upon others. The composition of population helps us to know how many are males or females, which age group they belong to, how educated they are, what type of occupations they are doing, and what their income levels are, as well as it also helps us to know about the health condition of that particular country. An interesting way of studying the population composition of a country is by looking at the population pyramid. It is also called as age-sex pyramid. A population pyramid shows the following things. Number 1, the total population divided into various age groups, that is 5 to 9 years, 10 to 14 years, so on and so forth. The shape of the population pyramid gives the picture of people living in that particular country. The number of children below 15 years are shown at the bottom of the pyramid, that is at the lower part, and it reflects the level of birth. The size of the top shows the number of aged people above 65 years and reflects the number of death that has happened in that particular country. The population pyramid also tells us how many dependents are there in a country. There are two groups of dependent people. The young dependents, that is aged below 15 years, that is Children below 15 years usually depend on their parents, and the other is the elderly dependents aged above 65 years who depend upon their children for their survival. The graph between the age group above 15 years and below 65 years shows the working community of the people, and these are the economically active group of the country. The population pyramid of a country in which birth and death rates are very high is broad at the bottom and rapidly narrow at the top level. This is because although many children are born, a large percentage of them die in their early childhood. Relatively few children only become adults, and then only a few people get to go to the old age group level. This situation is shown by the pyramid of Kenya. In countries where death rates are low, the pyramid is broad in the younger age group because many more infant or children are able to survive and reach the adulthood. This can be seen in the pyramid for India. Such populations contain a relatively large number of young people, which means a strong and expanding labor force. In countries like Japan, there are low birth rate, which makes the population pyramid very narrow or small at the bottom. Decreased death rates allow many more people to reach old age. Skilled Every country would like to have skilled, motivated, and hopeful young people because these people alone help in the development of the country's economy. We in India have a good amount of labor force, and if this labor force is educated, given proper skills and opportunities, then India can become a full developed country in the nearest future. And in order to do that, we must see to it that we provide ample opportunities of good health, good education, and good housing facilities to everyone. Children, with that, I conclude today's lesson.